One greetings from the high 10. It is Everyday Shenanigans. Happy holidays to the viewing audience. Please have a safe weekend. Be aware of your surroundings while out shopping. If you are going to indulge in the holiday season of store hopping, thank you all for the wonderful words and support of the movie that I was in as an extra. It aired on NBC last night at 8 p.m. Please check your NBC listings in your area in case you would like to watch the said movie. It is also playing on Peacock. Mountain Magic Christmas, starring Willie Nelson, Dolly Parton, Billy Ray Cyrus, Miley Cyrus, Jimmy Fallon, and other stars. Thank you all so much for joining me. Let's get down to business. A sixth roommate has been introduced into the storyline. What is his or her role? I'm going to assume that it is a she, since the other roommates were females, those that are dead and those that survived. What are the odds that there are six roommates, allegedly all female, but 3 survived, 3 did not? Is there a correlation? 3 on 3, do the math. I was in the wee hours making an upload. Please go to that video I made early this morning. The Queen was up. I'm a night owl. And as I told the viewing audience during that upload, that I do my best thinking at night. Quiet, no distractions, no noise, no nothing. That is when the Queen does her best thinking. My mind stays in rotation because I'm always aware of the information, not the gossip, not the rhetoric, because those things don't matter. Sometimes they play a role in the story, but you can get befuddled listening to the he said and the she said. That is not my focus here, because it gets out of control when you start listening to gossip. And I'm going to keep saying that so long as I discuss anyone that's decedent. Why are you all just now mentioning a sixth roommate? This is strange to me. The family didn't mention a roommate. The police didn't mention a roommate. The roommates didn't mention another roommate. You all don't find that strange that nobody in the story, either law official, surviving roommates, the family, nobody had said anything about another person living in this house? Now, does this person have a role in the slayings? I do not know. I hope not. And I'm not here to point the fingers at the living, but this is odd to me. And naturally, people are going to gossip and talk and try to say that this person has something to do with it. We're just going to get it on out there on the table and be done with it. My thing is, why not tell who all lived in the apartment house? What is the problem with saying these are all the residents of the house? These are the ones that are dead. These are the ones that survived. You don't even have to give their name, but just say girl 1, girl 2, girl 3. If they decide they want to come forward to reveal their identity, then that would be fine. But something is very strange with this story. So we have a backtracking of a story from LE that it is not targeted. Now they've thrown in the house could be the target, which makes no sense. Why would the house be a target? The house is its own entity. It doesn't have any value without anyone in it, be it a rock star or college student, if you understand what I'm saying. So you go from retracting that it's not a target. The children aren't the target. The house could be the target. Now we have a 6 roommates brought into the foe. What the hell else is going to jump out of a clown car? Because this is crazy to me. This is a very wicked, sinister story because you don't know who the killer is. You don't know the motive. When I play this commentary with Banfield News Nation, it's conflicting even in their report, because first they're going to tell you that all the kids were on the 3rd floor. Then it switches back to 2 in one room, 2 in another. Separate floors. Let's get started. Thank you for joining me.
We also have some new information this morning on the murders of those 4 college students in Idaho. Police say a 6th person's name is listed on the lease of the home where the attack happened, but they don't believe that individual was there at the time of the crime. 3 of the 4 victims lived in this rental home with 2 other roommates who were also at home at the time of the killings, but not hurt. Those roommates have been ruled out as suspects. The 4th victim was visiting for the night. News Nation did look into where their bodies were found, and we received this layout of the home that you see here. All of those who were killed were on the 3rd floor of the house. Police are now reaffirming they believe that this was a targeted attack after saying that they were uncertain. Now, weeks later, there's still no persons of interest, no suspect. News Nation's Ashley Banfield, she's been covering this story extensively every single night on her show. Ashley, what is your reaction? What is
55 seconds into this live stream, you hear this reporter saying that all victims were on the 3rd floor. Please listen carefully to this information, because the people reporting the story are just as dumbfounded as the viewing audience. 55 seconds in, all decedents on the 3rd floor. But later you will hear Banfield come in and say they were on different floors. 2 on the 3rd, 2 on the 2nd. Note that there are 2 bedrooms on each floor. 6 total bedrooms, apartments, however you want to look at it. The 2 girls have been told to the public by the father, Mr. Goncalves, that those 2 girls were in the bed together sleeping. So that's 1 room. 2nd room, Ethan and Xana in another room. You're going to hear commentary that I believe that the couple were on the 3rd floor, the girls on the 2nd, but yet here in the beginning of this installment, they say that all were on the 3rd floor. So which is it? This is what I don't understand about this crime. Why can't anybody ask the appropriate people the pertinent questions? Why are you all not getting information exactly from the landlord, manager of this house, the family? Do you all not know which rooms these people were in? I'm befuddled, because at 3 weeks, there should be concrete information as far as the number of rooms, if they were rented out or not, whose name was renting out the room, who was in the house at the time of the crime, who was decedent in the house, and how many names are on the lease. I don't understand why in the world there can't be any concrete information. How difficult could this be to get the names right of the people dead in the house, the rooms they're in, who was visiting, who lived there, who did not live there, who just came to move there, furniture in the house? All that needs to be descriptive, because this play-by-play every other week is ridiculous to me. Ridiculous to me. By now, somebody should have concrete information on all parties leasing the house. Number 1, all who are dead, all that were visiting, all who just moved out, all who just moved in. So the 6th roommate, did they just move in? Did they just sign a lease? Do they have belongings in the house? You're also going to hear in this commentary that Kaylee is graduating in January, would have been graduating in January, accepted a job in Texas, was possibly only coming over to the house to show her friend Maddie the car. So if that is true, where was Kaylee living? This case is ridiculous, because there's no reason for these discrepancies 3 weeks into this investigation. I'm wondering if Moscow are the appropriate people that should be investigating this crime. Due to the fact they have not had a crime in 7 years of murder, they need to hand this over to the FBI or the state police, because this is going nowhere. And it's not to be disrespectful, but in 3 weeks, people are entitled to an opinion pertaining to the handling of the case. When you start bringing in new people that allegedly lived in the house, rented the house, stayed at the house, visited the house, A person can render an opinion at this point. Constructively, some would say. As I said, I'm not here to point the fingers at any living person that lived in this house, but this is suspicious to me that you have 3 dead girls and 3 living girls. Maybe nothing, maybe something. Let's continue this audio. Thank you all so much for your time. News Nation is the source of this first information.
What is your reaction? What is the significance of this 6th name on the lease, or is it merely a technicality?
Yeah, we're sort of trying to figure that one out. But I will say, Adrian, that we've always wondered about the 6th bedroom. There were 6 bedrooms in this house and only 5 roommates. 4 people were killed, but one of the people who was killed was sleeping over. That was Ethan Chapin. I just want to ask your control room, though, if they could pop up that second floor design, that layout, too, because that's the floor right there, the first floor, Adrian, where the 2 survivors were discovered. This is the second floor. Over on the right-hand side, that's actually where we believe Ethan and Xana were found. And this 3rd floor layout, we believe, is where 2 of the victims were, Kaylee and Maddie. But now we know in one of the bedrooms, they weren't in either of their bedrooms. Both girls were in one of the bedrooms and in one bed. So as far as the 6th roommate goes, we can tell you that we believe that Kaylee was in the process of moving out. She was about to graduate in January. She'd already lined up a job and she bought herself a Range Rover. And the word was that she was coming over to the house to show her best friend, Maddie, her new silver Range Rover. And it even had temporary plates on it. So the theory that she may have been moving out, got the new car, was about to get the new job, does square. But does that mean that someone else was about to move in, a 6th roommate on the lease? Or does it mean there was somebody who actually signed up for that 6th bedroom, which we believe, if you pop that 2nd floor map up again, is the room across from the kitchen. There's the 1st floor again, and then watch for the 2nd floor. You'll see the kitchen will be on the right at the back of the house. And then that green room C, that's the room that we believe is unoccupied. I will say this, Adrian, it's very, very sad. We do know that someone was killed on that 2nd floor, in that 2nd floor bedroom on the right-hand side of the house, because that back wall of the bedroom is the outside wall where we have now seen the very, very horrific scenes of blood actually leaking outside of the house from the floor of that 2nd bedroom on the right-hand side of the house down that foundation. So bodies on the 2nd floor, we believe Ethan and Xana in that far bedroom, and bodies on the 3rd floor. That would be Kaylee and Maddie, but we don't know which bedroom. Kaylee's on the right-hand side on the 3rd floor, or Maddie's on the left-hand side of the 3rd floor.
Oh my goodness. Ashley, Brian Enton, he did interview police and the DA. Police have gone back and forth as to whether this is targeted or not. I guess they're now saying, yes, it's targeted. And then the DA is saying, likely not. So let's listen to this sound.
The investigators believe that whoever's responsible was specifically looking at this particular residence. But that's all that they can offer at this point.
So maybe the location was targeted, but you've said you do not, or maybe you question.
Let me go back to this blood situation. Hold on a minute, you guys.
That she was coming over to the house to show her best friend, Maddie, her new silver Range Rover. And it even had temporary plates on it. So the theory that she may have been moving out, got the new car, was about to get the new job, does square. But does that mean that someone else was about to move in, a 6th roommate on the lease? Or does it mean there was somebody who actually signed up for that 6th bedroom, which we believe, if you pop that 2nd floor map up again, is the room across from the kitchen. There's the 1st floor again, and then watch for the 2nd floor. You'll see the kitchen will be on the right at the back of the house. And then that green room C, that's the room that we believe is unoccupied. I will say this, Adrian, it's very, very sad. We do know that someone was killed on that 2nd floor, in that 2nd floor bedroom on the right-hand side of the house, because that back wall of the bedroom is the outside wall where we have now seen the very, very horrific scenes of blood actually leaking outside of the house from the floor of that 2nd bedroom on the right-hand side of the house down that foundation. So bodies on the 2nd floor, We believe Ethan and Xana in that far bedroom, and bodies on the third floor. That would be Kaylee and Maddie, but we don't know which bedroom. Kaylee's on the right-hand side on the third floor, or Maddie's on the left-hand side of the third floor.
Oh my goodness. Ashley, Brian Enton, he did interview police and the DA. Police have gone back and forth as to whether this is targeted or not. I guess they're now saying, yes, it's targeted. And then the DA is saying, likely not. So let's listen to this sound.
The investigators believe that whoever's responsible was specifically looking at this particular residence. But that's all that they can offer at this point.
So maybe the location was targeted, but you've said you do not, or maybe you question whether or not this was a targeted attack. Why?
I'll tell you what, Brian Enton and I work on this story every day for about 14 hours a day, and he and I are confused. So that should tell you something. I can just tell you what they have put out publicly. At the very beginning of this case, of course, everybody in Moscow, Idaho, the university campus, they were terrified. There's a deranged mass murder on the loose. Somebody went and stabbed 4 people to death. It's a personal, horrendous, violent crime. So right away, the police said, let's pull it back a notch. This is a targeted attack, which was supposed to perhaps put the community at ease. Then they walked that back somewhat because they wouldn't say why. They wouldn't say why they thought it was a targeted attack. Understandably, they're investigating. They said that was part of the investigation. Then the interviews with the prosecutor started coming in. Brian Enton asked him very specifically about that, and he said, maybe targeted isn't the best word to use. It could be the house that was targeted, or the people inside, 1 or 2 or 3, but we're not sure. Well, then that was an awkward change to the wording. And then that prosecutor did an interview with KTVB in Boise, Idaho, and said 1 person in the house was targeted. Well, that's a massive development in the story. But only hours after that tweet went out to promote that interview was coming, the city of Moscow said the police are putting out clarification again and saying, we don't even know, if the house or the people inside were targeted. Well, now everybody got into a real panic, like targeted isn't even the issue anymore. And yet again, last night, another clarification. The final clarification may have been an issue of semantics, Adrian, and that is that, let's walk that one back. We do know there's a targeting, 100%. It's a targeted attack. What we don't know is if it's the house or the people. So hopefully that provides some clarity, but it's been very, very difficult for the journalists covering the story moment to moment, let alone the people who live there and the kids on campus and the parents who send their kids there or may have sent their kids back there after Thanksgiving.
Yeah. And again, the thought that this person, whoever did this, is walking among them and they just have no idea.
That part we know. That
Yes.
part we know. 100% we know. Maybe the targeted issue has been confusing, but we know for sure that person is still out there somewhere.
Yeah. Ashley Banfield, thank you. And we'll enjoy your show. You can watch Banfield every night, every weeknight at 10/9 Central Time.
News Nation is the source. This is Banfield conversing with a reporter pertaining to the University of Idaho students that were bludgeoned inside of their home with one visitor, Mr. Ethan Chapin. The story has become more bizarre, but perhaps it isn't bizarre. It's only our perception because we don't know what's going on here in this investigation, which is natural. They cannot tell their hand as not to alert the killers, anyone involved enabling the killer. But there needs to be some consistency in the information that is being relayed to the public by law officials. How are you going to catch a killer when you don't even know who the hell stays in the damn house? I'm going to say that because this doesn't make any logical sense to me, that if you don't even know who's renting the house, staying in the house, has access to the house, you will probably never find the killer if their DNA is not on file in any database or CODIS. Let's keep that real. Let's keep it real. 2, you don't have surveillance of the killer entering the apartment, leaving the apartment. No eyewitnesses to this person. Somebody made an interesting comment on one of the programs I watched about the killer's Wi-Fi, the killer's phone pinging off the Wi-Fi inside of the house. It's a very interesting comment. Well, first you'll have to know who the killer is to know where he or she has been that led up to them being at this house. So see, one thing begets another. I'm going to play another audio, but I want to go ahead and chop up this information while it's fresh in my mind. 3 roommates in this property. One, which makes a 4th victim, Mr. Chapin, was visiting. At the beginning of this audio, 55 seconds into this audio, please refer to my community page and the YouTube queue for the verification. The woman starts off by saying all of the victims were on the 3rd floor. But then Banfield comes in and breaks it down to say Ethan and Xana were on the 2nd floor, which blood was leading out to the outside, which leads me to think one of them was either stabbed a lot or it's because one was on the floor, and because they laid there so long, 8 hours or more, however long it was, their blood dripped through the floor, which led through the outside, which is horrific in just visualizing this. Was one of the victims on the 2nd floor lying on the floor, dead? Because you have to ask yourself, did they bleed out on the floor or they bled out on the bed? Barb, what's your problem? As I was saying, did one of the victims die on the floor or they died in the bed and it was so much blood that it leaked down through the mattress, box spring, floor, and then to the outside? I would want to think common sense, because I'm not an expert in blood, but perhaps one of the victims was trying to get out of the room, trying to get to help. Maybe they jumped out and was tussling with the killer in the room. However it went, they died on the floor perhaps. And that blood seeped through the floor to the outside. I'm done with this. I'm done with this. You all play too much. As I was saying, rudely interrupted. How did blood seep to the outside? Once again, was one of the victims lying on the floor, or it was that amount massive of blood to where it bled through the mattress, box spring, and down to the floor? 2 bedrooms per floor has been mentioned. This is a 3-level house. What we thought was the 1st floor is allegedly a basement. 2nd floor, 3rd floor. The 2nd floor would be considered ground level to the back of the house, where there is a balcony, a sliding door, and then a 3rd level has a balcony. So 3rd floor from the back, 2nd level has a sliding door as well, and that would be a walkout to the ground from the back, but it's considered the 2nd level. Then there's a 1st level, I'm assuming, to walk into the property, and then I guess there's also a basement, which will be under the 1st level, if I'm to get this correct. No one hurt in the basement apartment, which would be the 2 girls who survived. So we have 6 apartments. We now have information of a 6th roommate. When did they come into the fold? How long did they lease the apartment? Are they new as a leasee? Will we get a name? I'm assuming it's a female, since all the other roommates were female. The fact that they're saying the 2 girls were in the bed together and Kaylee possibly came over makes me want to know, did she not live there? Because who gave word to Banfield or whomever that Kaylee was just stopping in to show off her car and spend the night? And that also leads me to wonder why they wouldn't have the bedroom on the same floor. But possibly one got in as a renter way before the other one. So Kaylee and Maddie are besties. You would assume they would get an apartment bedroom on the same floor if they could. But we don't know because nobody's telling us anything. This is a very bizarre case. But like I said, maybe it's not bizarre. It's only because we don't know anything and there are no verifications of who lived where, who's moved in, who's moved out, who's new to moving in. What are the odds of two at the scene of the crime that lived? 3 died and their friend died, which was a boyfriend who did not live there. Now we hear a 6th roommate. Where's their bedroom? 2nd floor or 3rd floor? The killer had them go from floor to floor, no matter where the people died. So what's the truth? Did the kids all die up on the 3rd floor or not? It would have believed that the killer came in on the 2nd landing, which he would have had a straight walk in from the back of the property. Then that means he still walked around looking for whomever, whether it was targeted or not. So was this a targeted crime? Did the killer enter in the 2nd floor glass door? We also hear that there's a kitchen, I believe, off of there, if I'm saying this correctly. I don't understand anything that's been repeated about this story. Nothing. So he walked in. Were there people on the 2nd floor? So then you go to the 3rd floor. You found to believe you went through the 2nd first or the 1st floor first. You went to the 3rd floor. Why? Just asking. Because something is off here. Because if you can't tell us if it's targeted or not, and it's not to be rude, maybe you won't ever know. I don't know. But you're going to ask questions now that you find out blood's running out of the wall. Does that mean it's because the body laid so long and bled out and seeped outside? Or this is one of the people that was stabbed more times? What is the truth? Will we get an answer? Once again, wouldn't you think 2 besties would have their apartments on the same floor? But as I said, who's to say when each one rented the apartment? How long have all the girls been residents at this house? 6 months, 7 months, 3 months, a whole year? The picture that is going around social media, the infamous picture of all the girls in the photograph, we're going to use deduction that the 2 outside girls are the 2 that's possibly living. So who is the person taking the picture? Bingo card. Is this our 6th roommate or no? This is why I always tell you all to pay attention to details. When I saw the picture of Ethan, Xana, Maddie, Kayla, 2 girls on the outside, one on one side, one on the other, who is the person holding the damn camera phone? Nobody's ever asked that but the queen. Because I pay attention. Too many questions and no answers. Allegedly, Kaylee found a job in Texas. Banfield says allegedly she was just stopping by. Well, one's still going to ask, well, where was she living? Where was she living if she was not a tenant in this house? Is this an issue of somebody wanting a room, didn't get their apartment, odds with the roommates, because there have been women who have been accused of murder, evidence of murder, guilty of murder. We do not know if this is a man or a woman. Most are only going to assume it's a man because Ethan was killed, and you're going to try to figure out how he couldn't have overpowered another man. And Ethan was a big guy. He's a triplet. But when you look at the photographs of him and his brother and sister, he is a very tall guy. So one would assume he could hold his own in a fight, but maybe he's not a fighter. Then you got to count where he was when he was attacked. Was he in the bed, walking, at the refrigerator, coming through the kitchen? What? If we're to believe that he was not in the bed, that means he confronted the killer or the killer confronted him. But he did not win, is the point. And he's a big guy. He's not a little guy. So that leads me to believe that the killer is also tall. Perhaps. Tall, heavier, stronger. Muscle, lean, which is it? Why not mention the sixth roommate? Why are we just now hearing about a sixth roommate? Target or not? Random or not? As I said, why mention this sixth roommate now? Did Kaylee live in this apartment or not? If she didn't live there, where was she living before death? She purchased a new car. So that changes the dynamics as well. If Kaylee didn't live there, just purchased a new car. I didn't know if maybe the car had something to do with it. Somebody jealous of her. But now we find out possibly she wasn't living there. So where was she staying if she didn't? Also in this commentary, you hear that Kaylee and Maddie were on the third floor. But at the beginning of this audio, it was said that all four were in two separate rooms upstairs, assumingly. Assumingly. Because you don't know, we weren't there and they haven't showed us a crime scene. So all we know is there are 2 bedrooms per floor, which will give you 6 rooms. But at the beginning of this audio, which is conflicting, in their own commentary, they say all were on the 3rd floor. But then Banfield comes in and say Xana and Chapin were on the 2nd and the 2 girls were on the 3rd. What in God's name is the truth? Because this is conflicting, and how can you have 2 conflicting versions in the same broadcast? So News Nation, you all need to tighten y'all stuff up too, because this ain't good. Once again, 2nd floor, blood led out to the outside of the house. Is this a sign that one person was brutally stabbed more times, the possible target, or they died on the floor and the blood seeped out to the outside? Or it was massive amount of blood, they died in the bed, and it went through the mattress, box spring, through the floor, to the outside. Why not ask the parents and landlord where everybody stayed? It asks to get the correct information and who actually lived at this address. You hear the reporter say, perhaps the location was the target. What does that mean exactly? The location. The house? As I tell you, the house doesn't have any value without the occupants. Now, if this was some swanky house, big fancy house, gated community, then one could say, well, somebody was just out trying to find somebody to rob, perhaps, and ended up killing the victims. But this isn't a swanky house. There's nothing swanky about it. No disrespect to the owner, but it's not. Maybe it's swanky to somebody else. To me, it's just a weird-looking house due to the fact you've got a door in the middle and windows far, far apart. Very strange setup the way that it's made. But obviously, they made it into, I guess, apartments. But you can maneuver through it without things being divided up like a regular apartment. Very strange. They talk about clarity. Banfield says there's a little bit more clarity as far as targeted house, targeted victims. Well, Banfield, I don't have any clarity because I don't understand a damn thing about this case. Who's on first? Who's on second? As I said before, the house doesn't have any value without the occupants. So you want me to believe somebody rolled by and said, which they could have, I'm going to go rob this house right here, or I'm going to assault whoever's in here, or I've seen girls coming out of here, I'm going to assault this house. But that still means you saw who was going and coming to make a sound decision to say that's the house you want to rob if it's for a reason of the target. So which is it? The house is the target or the occupants? I don't understand how you can have one without the other. Because as I said, this isn't a swanky house in a gated community where a person is riding by looking for somebody to rob and they say, oh, look like they got money in there. I'll go try to rob this house right here. I don't know what the hell's going on. This story makes no sense. Let's play audio from a law official rendering their opinion pertaining to this very bizarre case. But as I said, perhaps it isn't bizarre. Perhaps it's just we don't know anything. Former FBI agent on lingering questions in Idaho killings. News Nation is the source. Thank you so much.
We are following new developments in that unsolved murder case of 4 University of Idaho students. It now appears a previously unknown person was on the lease for that off-campus home where the murders happened nearly 3 weeks ago. Police say that person was not at the home on the night of the murders. It has been nearly 3 weeks this weekend since Ethan Chapin, Madison Mogan, Xana Kernodle, and Kaylee Gonsalves were killed, and police still do not have a suspect in custody. Former FBI Special Agent Stuart Kaplan joining us once again. He's been with us since the start of this case, breaking down the evidence, the details, and what we know based on what police have released publicly. Thanks for being back again this morning. I think let's start with what we've learned overnight in this possible 6th person on the lease. How critical is that in terms of evidence, police questioning?
Well, it's a little confusing because you would think that by interviewing the surviving roommates, that they would have identified that there was some other person
Exactly.
who also
Exactly.
decided, or who at least was legally responsible with respect to being on a lease. So that's somewhat confusing, and I think it's going towards some of the erosion of confidence that this police department, this local police department, is now getting the backlash from. But let me just interject for you this morning that I think will be very pivotal and very telling. These unfortunate murders took place on November 13th. Generally speaking, toxicology reports with respect to the victims generally should come back within 4 to 6 weeks. And so we're close. We're coming upon that 4th week. And I think that the toxicology reports in connection with these 4 victims will be very telling with respect to, I have no doubt, or I will make an assumption that there will be evidence of alcohol in their system. But if in fact there is other substances that are identified and detected in these or any of these victims, I think that may start to zero in on some other potential targets in this investigation.
I hear what you're saying. It's important and prudent probably to be patient. And I always give police the benefit of the doubt as they work through a very complicated investigation. But there is a lot of criticism. Local police are taking the charge on this. The FBI is involved. Is this messy police work? Because the heat's on. There's a lot of media there. The community wants answers. They're scared.
So let me be frank. I think it's a lack of experience. Look, this small town in Idaho has never, ever, unfortunately, had to endure what they're enduring right now. And to no fault of the local police department, when that 911 call originally went out, they believed in good faith that someone within the house was unconscious. They may have anticipated that it was more of a medical emergency than a crime, or ultimately ending up with an unfortunate, horrible, barbaric crime scene. And so I think that some of what we are suffering from, or some of what is being played out, is just the inexperience of this local police department, who originally came upon this awful scene. And most or all experienced detectives, FBI agents, anybody who's been in this business for a long time will tell you that the initial onset of coming onto a scene like this must be the integrity of this crime scene must be maintained at all costs. Now, with that being said, I cannot fault the local police department with respect to running into this house because they, in good faith, believed that it was a medical emergency. But let me suggest that once they realized what they had, and they should have immediately backed out of that house, and then I think it would have been more prudent to maybe call the state agencies or the federal agencies to assist them. And I don't think that happened in a timely fashion. And that is unfortunately leading to some of the missteps in this case.
It's not too late, though, right? I mean, we've got state police involved, the FBI is involved. I mean, people who are experienced with gruesome, tragic crime scenes like this, for them to step in and start from scratch, essentially.
That is true to some extent. But the problem is that I will assume, because of the barbaric nature of the way these homicides occurred, there is probably significant blood splatter, not only on the bed sheets, but also on the furniture and also on the floor. And if you have individuals that are first responders that are coming into the house and literally going room to room, the potential of blood being transferred from one location to the other can potentially impact the integrity of the crime scene and the hypothesis that may be put forth in trying to identify either one perpetrator or several perpetrators. I will believe that what will be very, very telling is the toxicology reports and, of course, any DNA evidence that may have been captured. And generally, because it has been publicized that there may have been some defensive wounds that may have been identified, that any DNA that may have been captured under fingernails with respect to the perpetrator or perpetrator's DNA will be very telling and very probative in a direction that I believe, once these toxicology reports come back, I think you're going to see some progression in moving this case forward.
And hopefully some relief. All of these details are hard for the families to hear and to think about, and as time stretches on, it becomes more difficult. Former FBI Special Agent Stuart Kaplan, as always, thank you. We'll be talking to you again soon. Be sure to tune in Sunday night for a News Nation special report, Idaho Murder Mystery. Brian Enton's going to be live in Moscow, talking to members of the community. He's talking to law enforcement as well, trying to clear up some of this confusion. That's this Sunday, 9 p.m. Eastern, only here on News Nation. Thank you for watching. Go to News Nation now.
All right, everybody. Former FBI agent on lingering questions. So far, there have been a lot of former law enforcement FBI agents speaking on this case, giving their testimony to what they think may have happened as far as a suspect or motive. I don't know who the killer is, if there's more than one. But the one thing I can say about this case is, like a lot of cases, you don't know anything about the case because we haven't been told anything pertinent. You don't know the DNA. If there's DNA left behind. Did the person cut himself? Is it a tag team? More than one person? Is it a setup? Did somebody orchestrate this because of something they had against any of the people at the house? You don't know. But as I said at the beginning of this live, 55 seconds into the audio, you hear that all the victims were on the third floor. Is that true? Because it changes during the audio that 2 were on the second, 2 were on the third. So which is it? 2 were on the third, or 2 were on the second, or all 4 were on the 3rd floor. I'm almost about to say the 4th floor because I don't know if anybody even knows what the hell's going on. And this is what's so disturbing about this case is you can't even get the information right. So if you can't get the information right, you can't get a fucking killer. That's just common sense. How are you going to find a killer when you can't even tell us who the hell lived in the house? And you all do not know what was taken out of the house. You can't say that nothing was stolen out of the house because you don't know what the person took. They haven't even told you anything. So how do you know what was taken out? Just because you didn't hear that a TV was taken out, a stereo system, doesn't mean the person didn't take underwear, earrings, bracelets, socks, whatsoever. So you can't say nothing was stolen because they haven't told you that anything was stolen, not stolen. And that's another thing. Did the killer take anything such as debit card, credit cards, iPads, iPhones? Did every victim have a phone accounted for? iPad, TV accounted for? You don't know because they haven't told us anything. I don't care that they say nothing was taken. They don't know what the person took. The fact that they can't even get it right of who actually lived in the house, you think I'm going to sit here and believe they know what the fuck the killer took out of there? No. And then, too, you don't know what the girls purchased to even say if you were a parent or a sister or brother. Yeah, I know they had this, and this. Somebody could have just bought a purse same day, the day before. Could have bought a Gucci bag or a Michael Kors handbag, a Michael Kors watch. Who's to say? Because people don't tell everybody, oh, yeah, I just went to the mall and bought me a new watch. So did the perpetrator take anything out of the house that would be minute? Since people want to argue about what they didn't take. Most killers will take a souvenir just to show, yeah, I was there. I'm the killer. This is what I have belonging to victim 1 through 4. Could be just strands of hair, a clump of hair. You don't know. Did any of the females have their hair cut? I'm curious. No sexual assault, allegedly. So did the killer take any hair from any of the victims? I'm wondering. Were any of them stabbed in their face? Not to be disrespectful, but I am curious to that because these were some very, very pretty girls, women. I'm wondering if any of the faces were mutilated. That would show personal. If they were attacked in their personal areas, that would show personal hate of that specific victim. Any victims stabbed in the growing area? Was one victim or more mutilated more than the other victims? Very interesting information. The 6th roommate, is he or she the missing link to this travesty? What are the odds you have 3 dead women and 3 living? Why was the 6th person not mentioned at the beginning of this story? Somebody decides to speak on behalf of the 2 to explain the 911 call. I don't understand how that became a discrepancy. Why wasn't that relayed in the beginning? Hey, 2 girls found the bodies, came outside, 1 passed out. Friends came on the scene. They are the ones that called 911 from one of the survivors' phone. How hard would it be to tell the story that way? Why does somebody have to reach out to people on social media platforms to say, hey, I don't like the fact that these 2 are being bashed. They didn't do anything. They're survivors. They're the ones that found the bodies. Then you should have explained it that way. You should have explained it that way. Hi. We got up, saw this guy lying on the floor, ran out of the house, called 911. One of us passed out. Somebody came by or was on the scene, called 911 on our behalf. Other people started coming to the scene. Other people were called. And that's why you have a lot of 911 calls. How hard would it be to have relayed that to the general news? I don't think these people are professional to handle this case. And you can't make excuses that, well, they ain't had a murder in 7 years. Well, you can't bank on there never being violent crime. That defeats the purpose of having a police department. And we get it. You're going to have only so many officials working depending on the size of the town. But on this fateful morning, somebody snuffed out 4 kids. So you have to do due diligence to find the killer. Because in the end, this person is walking around free, basking in the glory that they have not been apprehended. And when they sit here and watch the news, such as us, and see that you can't even get the names right, you can't get the 911 call right, you're adding a 6th roommate, the father is telling you it's targeted, then you take it back and say it ain't target, then you say now it's the house target. The killer is saying thank you. They don't even know what the fuck they're doing. I pray that the 6th person's name won't get released, because if we don't really know the motive, could this person and the other 2 survivors' lives be in danger? Was the intent to kill everybody in the house? If indeed it was personal against the house, because I don't really understand what that means. The house. Excuse me for 1 second. Sorry about that. Okay, where were we? Very dire situation. Because I don't understand what's going on. I don't understand why there has been no confirmation of the said information. Nothing has been mentioned about where he stays. I'm assuming he stays in a dorm or in an apartment. That is what's been said, that he was visiting. The Queen does her research before she goes live, so all the extra commentary is really not necessary. We know that he did not live there. That's already been said. But there are conflicting reports of who was on 3rd, who was on 2nd in the broadcast. I just bring you the information. If you have a problem with the information, I suggest you call News Nation and ask them why they have a conflicting report of who was on 2nd and who was on 3rd. In the end, 4 people are dead. So as I said, if you can't get the information correct about who was in the house, who leased the house, who was in the rooms, then there's no way you can catch the killer. That's just common sense. What is to become of this storyline? What was left behind as evidence at the scene? Did the killer cut himself? How long was he in the house? Did he lie in wait? Is there a reason for these murders? Naturally, we know there's no common sense reason, but what was his motivation behind killing these people? So if we were to use deduction that all were on the third floor, let's just say that. Oh, honey, I'm not rude. I'm just letting you know I'm not going to let anybody come in here and run my playhouse. How about that? You're not going to run my playhouse. I don't need anybody coming in being argumentative because the information is coming from the news and the police department. If they don't want to report the news properly to the news agent, why am I going to sit here and argue with a random stranger about what was told from the detectives to the district attorneys to the news? That's the detective's job to get the information right. Such as with the district attorney. They're at odds on the information. So what do I look like arguing with a random stranger about information that they should know? That's not my job. And it's disrespectful to come in somebody's chat arguing about what they're repeating from the news. You have a problem with the information, then you go complain to the news. Or you go complain to the police department. You don't come in someone's chat and argue about what they're repeating. I'm repeating what they're saying. I wasn't there. I don't know who stays in the house. I don't know who leased the house. I don't know which room the victims were in. But I run this show here. I run this. And it's disrespectful to come in a chat and argue with the host about what the fuck the news said. You don't like the information, then you go complain to them. As I was rudely interrupted, what has become of this case? Who is the sixth roommate? Female, male. How long have they been living in the house? When did they rent the space in the house? Is the sixth roommate the missing link to this storyline? Why are we just now getting information that there was another roommate? Why did the parents not mention another roommate? Why didn't the roommates mention another roommate? Is there a reason why the sixth roommate's name was not mentioned? Is it because of safety concerns? They didn't want to say there was another person living there or getting ready to move in. Did Kaylee actually stay at this house or not? We're getting information that she may have stopped by. So then you have to ask yourself, if that is true, where was she living? She's allegedly supposed to be graduating in January, took a job in Texas. So if we're to believe, as Banfield says, we got word, well, who's the person giving that word that she may have just stopped by? And as we have said before, there's nothing wrong with the two women wanting to sleep in the same bed. They may have decided they wanted to sit up and talk, laugh, watch a movie together, listen to music, and then just fell asleep. Or that could show perhaps that Kaylee wasn't living there, so that's why she was sleeping in Maddie's bed. Or is it Kaylee's bed? I don't know. That's what we're trying to figure out. Who actually rented the apartments? Who is actually on the lease at this location? Two bedrooms per floor. Who actually is the name on the rooms on each floor? That is going to make a big difference. And the reason why that's going to make a big difference is because you now have a roommate number 6 who's been brought into the storyline, who would be considered a survivor number 3. So you can't say it's not relevant. I'm not pointing the fingers at any of the living residents, but there's something still strange about it. 2 survived. 2 allegedly found a victim, allegedly Mr. Ethan. And now we have miraculously, 3 weeks into the story, a 6th roommate. So you have 3 dead roommates, 1 visitor, Mr. Ethan, and now 3 living. What are the odds of 3 dead versus 3 living? Was there an issue with the ladies in the house? Traffic, noise, company, too much company, disagreement with company, disagreement over bills, kitchen chores, duties. See, you don't know. But you have to factor that in now, that possibly this last person to live here plays a role into the deaths. How, I do not know. I'm not pointing the fingers at anyone in the house that is living, but this is strange now to have 3 living participants and 3 dead. That's just too odd for me. It's a very odd number. So now you got to ask, as I said, when did these girls move in here? Who were the original ones to move in? Maybe that plays a part in this diabolical story. The order of the girls, how they came in. The order of the girls leaving out. Because think about it. They checked out all right. They were killed. And one was supposed to be coming out anyway in January. But then they say possibly she was already out, which would be Kaylee. What is the truth to Kaylee's dealings at this house? Was she in or was she out of the lease? Will the property owner or manager of this house tell us about the inhabitants? Maybe not necessarily their names, but the order of them coming in and who was signing a new lease. Because this is a strange, strange story. Well, possibly, Mr. Jackson, there was purpose in not mentioning roommate number 3 because you have a killer on the loose. Stupid people on YouTube have already mentioned 2 of the girls' names. You had no right to mention their names because we don't know the killer and we don't know the motive. And if indeed the killer meant to get everybody, well, now you have 3 victims alive. 3 survivors. So let's say the intention was to kill everybody in the house. You now have 3 survivors, and you YouTubers have stupidly put the 2 girls' names out there, which is wrong. And now a 3rd person may be fearing for their safety if indeed they don't have anything to do with the dead people in the house. They now mention the name of a previous home renter. Have you seen that? No, I have not. Someone in the chat had also mentioned that before. Is this an issue of somebody who used to live there? Is this somebody thinking that the person used to live there, that they wanted that person, a female, a male? I don't know, because I do not know how long all parties have lived in the apartment. See, all those things matter. How long did the people live in the apartment? What is the order of them renting the apartment? Who came first? Who came second? Who came sixth? That may have something to do with this. Previous renter? Possibly. Maintenance workers. They had to have access to the house to come do work. You want me to believe they didn't know the keypad number? Of course they did. They'd have to know it. How are they going to get in? And naturally, the girls go to school and work. They're not going to naturally be at home the time the maintenance worker needs to come in. So you see, there's so many possibilities of who the killer could be. A ladder was sitting on the side of the building. Was that the ladder belonging to the house or police? Somebody said it was from the police department. Well, it seems to me they would have gladly mentioned it. Oh, by the way, if you're looking at the house, the ladder you see on the side, we brought that. So this is a very diabolical story. But like I said, it's only worse because we don't know anything. And maybe if we knew a little more, some of the things that we don't have the answers to would make sense. And that is possibly what is going on. I don't know. I don't know if these people are diligent in handling this situation. I'm not trying to knock the police department, but there are certain things right now that don't look good, and that's retracting what happened to the kids. Target, not target, difference of opinion between the detectives and the attorney's office, district attorney's office, which is strange to me. You two should be in cahoots anyway. So I don't know how you two could be at odds of what information you want to get out pertaining to the kids. You all are supposed to have a discussion of what to say to the public. This is just the craziest thing I've ever seen. Summer, I've mentioned that already. That's what's mentioned at the beginning of this live. That's what I told everybody. This is why I say what I say. To people coming in the chat that want to be rude and try to tell me about the information I'm relaying. I'm only relaying information from the news. I'm not relaying news from Pookie and Ray Ray and Facebook accounts. So hell yeah, I'm going to be rude to you. You want to come in here and argue with me about what the fuck is said. I told you 55 seconds into this live, they said all were killed on the 3rd floor. Then Banfield comes in and changes it and says 2 was on 2nd, 2 was on 3rd. So which is it? So like I said before, if you want to argue with somebody, then you go argue with News Nation. You go argue with Moscow Police Department. You go argue with the district attorney's office. Because these people are the ones giving the information to the news. Now we have to ask ourselves, who told them that they all died on the 3rd floor? Did they all die on the 3rd floor? I'm going to ask Moscow Police. Do you have 4 victims die in separate rooms on the 3rd floor? Or did the kids die 2 on 3rd, 2 on 2nd? Because that is going to matter if we want to say this is targeted. That the killer knew to go 2nd floor, 3rd floor. And it's still creepy that he's walking around the house, period. For whatever reason, whatever sick logic he had. And if you only had 1 target, why are you killing 3 other people? If you had 2 targets, why are you killing the other people? But naturally, if 2 people are sleeping in the bed, let's say, his target was 2. Either Maddie, Kaylee and Maddie, whomever else, however you want to word it, each are in the rooms with another party. So one's going to say, well, let's say you got 2 people in the bed, only one's the target. What are the odds of you stabbing the one in the bed and the other person not wake up? Because you're going to have to get on top of the person and stab him or her. Naturally, the other person in the bed is going to wake up. So now you got to fight off 2 people. So let's talk about that. 2 people in a room, if we're to believe that 2 died in a bed, because we believe Ethan allegedly was not dead in a bed, let's start with the 2 that were in the bed together, which would have been the girls. If they were dead in a bed together, what are the odds one didn't try to get out and run out to safety? See, this is why I try to make you think about the information. Instead of listening to he said, she said, stick with what is obvious. What are the odds? 2 girls are in a bed. Killer comes in, viciously starts stabbing one. What is the other one doing? See, these are the questions nobody asks. You just want to talk around the subject and talk about Pookie, Ray, and all of those gossip and stuff. Stick to what is common sense. 2 are in a bed. What is the other one doing while the one is being stabbed? Why didn't victim 2 try to run out? Because I'm stabbing one. The other one wakes up. Does the other one try to fight off the killer or try to run out? Does he then try to grab the second person? Then what is the person who originally got stabbed doing in the bed? See, this is wicked. Maybe more than one killer. This is troublesome because, as I always tell people, always think about the information that has been given to you. If we're to believe that two are in a bed together, this is common sense. What was the other one doing while the perpetrator is on top of victim one? Does victim two intervene? Try to run? He grabs that one, victim two. They tussle. So what is the original victim doing? Well, some of the victims have defense wounds. So I doubt that anybody was out of it. Maybe one, but not all four. That has been revealed. That the victims, some of the victims have defense wounds. So possibly only one was sleeping or inebriated and did not fight back. So once again, prayers to the families, the friends, the students, the staff, and the community, because these people have to live in Moscow. I don't. I would be very afraid as a student, not knowing the motive, not knowing the order, not knowing anything. And now with a sixth roommate, this just thickens the plot more because you don't know anything. And I understand this is an open investigation, but something is strange that they can't get the accurate information out to the public. Whether you want to tell us anything or not, just be accurate in what you are telling. If you're not sure that one or two or more are the target, you shouldn't have said anything. You having a difference with the father, Mr. Goncalves, and him talking to the public, then you should talk to him directly and tell him, hey, we don't need you talking to the public and telling things. 2, 3, where is the sixth roommate at? Where is the sixth roommate? Where is he or she staying? Where were they that night? Bingo card. It was said that the two roommates were allegedly out of town or supposed to have been getting back in town. Almost made me think that they weren't even supposed to be there. So what is that all about? You don't hear much about that mentioned anymore. So were the two roommates out of town together? And if they were out of town, what time did they get back? See, there's too many missing pieces of this puzzle. And I said to myself, it may not be anything. It's just that we don't know anything. We don't know the people. We don't know what they were doing, not doing, because the police is not either getting the appropriate information or they don't want to release the information. I don't understand any of it. But you have to ask yourself why we have 3 girls, if I'm to believe the sixth roommate is a female, 3 females living and 3 dead. That is an odd number. Survival versus dead. Come on, you guys. And I'm not pointing the fingers at these survivors, but that is an odd number. And this is why the case doesn't make any sense. Because it seems to me you would have dropped that dime day one. We have 2 survivors. Oops, I mean we have 3 survivors. And you would have told where the third one was. Out of town, on vacation, at work, spent the night with somebody else. Bingo card. So we need to go back to the beginning of the story and look at the house and count the cars in the drive. How many cars were on the property the first day the story broke? How many cars were in the parking lot when the story first broke. That will let you know if a sixth person was at the house then. Very, very scary situation. Well, I believe there was more than 4 cars there. Because I know I counted at least 5 the other day before they were towed. And that's with the yellow tape across the driveway. Very diabolical situation. I do not know where this investigation is going. Yeah, Kimmy, I know, honey. They think the queen don't watch TV, obviously. Where was the 6th person? What is their role in this storyline? Were they a resident or not? Did they live there or not? Were they out of town working? What is the deal with the 6th person? Yeah, I knew it was about 5 cars there. Because one was slanted near the edge of the drive, and I couldn't remember if that was 5 or 6. Because there was like a truck parked right near the start of the drive. But I do believe it was inside of the tape. The point is, something strange about the story. Does the 6th person play a role in the deaths of these kids? Was there a dispute in the house? Dispute of people coming and going? The way a certain person was living? See, you can fall out for a multitude of reasons with people in a house. And people fall out over anything. Traffic, noise, music. Who ain't paid their portion of the rent? Because if it's a house that you can maneuver around, then that means they're sharing water, lights, gas, and the rent. Stay woke now. If it is a house that you can maneuver around and all the common spaces are open like a regular house, then that means all would be sharing the bulk of the bill. Now, how it was divided up between the people and the management company owner, I do not know. But all that is significant because they lived in this house. And as I told you all in my early morning upload, pay very close attention to the picture of the girls and Ethan in that photograph. Somebody is taking the picture. Who is the person taking the picture? Because you have the 4 victims in the photo, 2 other girls in the photo, 1 on each side. But who is the mystery person taking the picture? This is why I tell you, you have to pay attention to the details. Don't listen to all that other stuff because sometimes that stuff doesn't mean anything. If it doesn't have any bearing on the case, it's just fluff and white noise. Stick to the obvious. Whose car was there at the time of the murder? How many victims came out of there alive and dead? Now you have a 6th person alive. Was their car there the morning of the killings? If not, where were they? How long have they been living in the house? When did they move into the house? What was their relationship with the other people in the house? See, you have to ask all the pertinent questions. Who last moved out of the house? Bingo card. Did somebody double back to hurt that person? Only to find these people there. Could it be the perpetrator walked in looking for somebody else, Susie Mae, from a long time ago, and woo, surprised when they walk into the rooms and realize this ain't her, but I'm going to kill her anyway. I'm going to kill her, and him anyway. Exactly. How long ago was that picture taken? The girls have on winter clothes, sweatshirts, so that would lead you to believe it was cold. And naturally, Idaho probably gets colder than my region, even when we're warm, because we've had near 70-degree weather here just a few days ago. So Tennessee weather is not going to mirror Idaho weather. So when was that picture taken? Did Kaylee actually move out of the house? If she did, where was she staying? Who all the hell lived in the house? All of this should have been told day one. How hard would it be to go to the management company or the owner of the house and ask, I need a name of everybody that has a lease on this property. Anybody that you heard living but didn't sign a lease. Who was the last persons that signed a lease? And when did they last live here? Did they leave on their own or did you evict them? Bingo card. Stay woke. See, everything is at the beginning of the story. This is why I don't listen to gossip. Because that's not what's going to get the killer caught. He said and she said. You need to focus on the house. And now that they say the house was a target, that's going to lead me to, is this an issue of somebody who used to live there? Did somebody use that house as an address but didn't stay there? Bingo card. Ah, the plot thickens. I tell somebody I stay there, but I really don't. I'm just crashing there. Is this an issue of somebody crashing at the house but didn't really live there? Name wasn't on the lease. Somebody knew they were staying there, had a problem with them, infiltrated. Somebody been looking for somebody they had beef with, female beef, used to live there. Did somebody at the house do something to somebody, was a witness to something, a crime, and the infiltrator came? See, you have to ask all the questions. I don't rely on gossip because that's not going to get me to the truth. Pointing fingers at everybody, it's not going to get me to the truth. Because you got too many moving parts now to say ex-boyfriend, neighbor, student, stalker, Grubhub patron. You're just picking on random people when you don't even know who the hell killed these kids. It could be anybody. It could be anybody. Stalker, non-stalker, disgruntled neighbor, bingo card. That house, the back of the house faces other houses and apartments. Who's to say those girls didn't piss somebody off? Partying, loud talking, rude, curse somebody out, stay woke. People die for the most mundane things, is what I keep trying to tell you. That's why you can't point fingers at who the killer is, because you do not know the girls. You do not know Ethan. Naturally, their parents are going to get on the stage and say, they're nice kids, they're this, they're that, they wouldn't bother anybody, but I don't know that. And I know that when you live around people in apartments, things could jump off at the drop of a hat. And when you have neighbors, you've got a house facing their house sideways, there's houses behind there. Who's to say there wasn't an altercation with the neighbors? Somebody was up too loud, playing music, cussing, fussing. Somebody wanted somebody to go to sleep. Somebody's dog barking too loud. Somebody's letting their dog shit in front of the doorway or the driveway. See, you don't know. Just like right now, I'm living near some people, a bunch of fucking cackling ass hens in a house, young like these kids. Well, who's to say that somebody's not looking for one of those chicks and they decide to come in the wrong house, blow my damn brains out because they're looking for these kids. This is what I'm trying to tell you. You don't know people. These kids moved in. They had a house full first night. Hell, I didn't know they were roommates. I had to go ask somebody. Oh, yeah, it's a bunch of roommates living together. Dangerous when you have too many people living in a house together, because if anything jumps off with any person, they can jeopardize the livelihood of everybody in the fold. Stay woke. One person goes out here and argues with the fool, or they're the jackass. Now everybody's dead because of one person. Do you understand what I'm saying? One person argues with a neighbor. 3-4 people living in a house apartment. Now, 3-4 are dead off of one person's argument. Stay woke. Stay woke. One person argues with a person at a job. Pisses somebody off at the job. Now, everybody's collateral damage off of one disagreement. One broke up relationship, courtship, fling, entanglement. Everybody's dead because of one bad relationship. You don't know who the killer is. You don't know the motive, because you have too many damn people living in the house to say who the killer is. And I said I would not give no rendering because there are too many moving parts. Who was the perpetrator? Male or female? What was their beef with the inhabitants of the house? Is this the people that live there, or somebody else that stayed there, somebody that crashed there, somebody else that used to live there and they didn't have the correct information? Drug related has been ruled out. Now it's no target. Now it's could be house target, which makes no sense. How did the perpetrator get in? Windows or glass doors? How did the perpetrator leave? Why do we have surviving victims? If the perpetrator was good enough to walk second floor, third floor, why not walk all the way through the house at every door? And what if you find out the perpetrator did know about the girls downstairs, apartments downstairs in the basement? Stay woke. You have no proof he didn't know about them. You have no proof he didn't know about them, or they. How did the perpetrator leave out? On foot, skateboard, car, bicycle, Uber, walk down the street, or walk back to their house nearby? Stay woke. Is this a neighbor issue? Somebody got mad at somebody, had a disagreement. The girls in the house didn't get along, and somebody exacted crimes on behalf of one of the females in the house that has survived. And what does the landlord have to say, or the owner, since you decided to put their name in here? Wow. What do they have to say about the story? Will they come forward and speak about the tenants themselves? Any issues with the tenants? Any issues with having to evict anyone? Stay woke. Anybody coming in as a new tenant? If we're to believe that Kaylee was still living there but leaving out in January, what day was she supposed to be out of the house? And if she's out of the house already, where was she staying? What is the truth to this diabolical story out of Idaho? Who all had access to the house? Did the girls give the code to somebody else? Did they leave a door open, window open, glass door open? Was anybody else staying at the house, crashing, living? Was there a misunderstanding between the girls? Did one of the living girls go tell somebody to do something to these kids? Stalker, random, target. Target 1, target 2, target 3, target 4. Who's going to come out and tell the truth about this being a target or not? Are they ready to rent this place out? Whoever owns the property. Because naturally, they're wrapping up this investigation this week. So that means the owner is probably telling them, hey, how long is it going to take you to finish this up? I need my money. Because as you see, December is a new month. And that's another thing. Is anybody listening to the Queen? The kids are killed the second week of the month of November. New month. Landlord needs money. Stay woke. 6 people paying you rent money. You need that money. So did this person go to the police to say, how long are you going to take investigating my house? I need my house cleaned up. Because naturally they've got to clean up from the blood, residue, blah, blah, blah. Property rental is a business. So whether people died or not, got hurt or not, it's still a business. And the owner is going to want their damn money. That's why you have to look at everything pertaining to a story. And I'm not saying that the landlord has anything to do with the deaths of these children. I'm not saying the people who lived have anything to do with this story. All I'm saying is use deduction. Stick to what is obvious in the story. Well, Chad, no house where people were bludgeoned is going to have any value unless it's somebody that wants to buy a house and assume that it was haunted. And I'm not getting ready to touch that subject matter. Exactly. Who would want to move there? These are college students in the general area. Most campuses do not have enough adequate housing for kids. So this would be prime real estate due to the fact it's near the university. And I can't see any sane student or sane person wanting to live in a house where people were bludgeoned to death and then the killer is still free. So let's talk about that. Let's say the landlord has been hounding the police about the investigation and wanting to get the house cleaned up and ready for rental or selling the property. One, who is going to want to rent this place out? Is he going to keep the place, he or she who owns it? Will they keep the property? What are you talking about, rattle a house? Do not know when the landlord was notified. Naturally, they would Google information, go through the tax records, through the clerk's office, and find the person who owns it and contact them. Or they'd ask the parents or somebody who owned the house. But nonetheless, did the owners go to the police and say, how long is it going to take for you to wrap this up? I've got to get my money. Because it may seem cold and callous, but as I told you, this is a business. And the landlord will be missing money because the people are dead. The only people that will pay him money are the 3 survivors. And they're depending on the other 3's income to pay the rent. Could this be somebody jealous that wanted to be living in this house for some particular reason? Because people kill people for the stupidest of reasons. I don't have to agree with it, but many people are dead for mundane, minute reasons, disputes. This is why the sixth roommate is vital to this information, because something is off here, terribly off. What will the homeowner do with the house? Sell the house or try to re-rent the rooms out in the house? And what logical person would want to stay in this house? I brought you commentary at the beginning of this live stream pertaining to News Nation, 2 different audios that you can verify through YouTube Q and my community page. Please check my community page for all said updates pertaining to this story and verification of the said information. I'm not going to hold you all much longer, but I thank you for joining me. Have a safe weekend. Please check out Dolly Parton's new movie that aired last night on NBC. The Queen is an Extra. I am in the opening of this movie, Mount Magic Christmas. You have until eternity to check it out if you are indeed into Christmas movies. Thank you for your kind words and encouragement. Thank you for all my new subs. The viewing audience, please like, share, subscribe. If you see something, say something. Be a part of the solution and not the problem. I was hoping to have an in-depth discussion during this live stream, but obviously the takings is not going well pertaining to people wanting to hit the link. And I have asked those who are new to this channel and viewing audience to please join me on the panel to dissect this, because I was wanting to hear from various people pertaining to what happened with the 6th person. But I see that wasn't possible today, so I will go into my next commentary later this evening pertaining to Casey Anthony. That will be my next live stream, dissecting her information in the Netflix docuseries. Thank you so much. Thank you, Andrea. Thank you all so much for those who watched the movie last night. Thank you so much. Thank you, Gigi. Thank you all so much. Thank you all. Mount Magic Christmas, starring Dolly Parton, Willie Nelson. The Queen had an extra role in that. Met some really fine women. We are still friends to this day. Please check out the movie. It's airing on NBC. If you do not have cable, you do not need cable for NBC. Just use an antenna. Or Peacock also airs NBC content. Yeah, well, I didn't see myself on the stairs. I could barely see. It was a quick shot. They didn't pan the whole staircases like they had. I thought they were going to, because they had us lined up on each side of the staircase where you see Dolly Parton singing at the end. And I only saw one staircase, which is where I would have been standing at the top, but I could barely see myself. I think I saw one of the ladies that was that I knew of, a black lady, but I couldn't make myself out because they didn't show both staircases. Anyway, I thank you all for joining, and 1,500 new subscribers. God bless all of you. Have a safe weekend. Be careful shopping. Be aware of your surroundings. As I said, don't leave parcels out. Have people pick up things being brought by Amazon, UPS, whomever. Don't put boxes at the garbage can, so people won't know what you got, what you bought. Be careful posting to social media. Put all your parcels in your trunk, not your seats or your floorboards of your car. And be careful of your doors being open and closing while people are visiting you during the holiday season. This is still a season where people can infiltrate and walk in your house, break into your house, break into your cars. Be careful shopping out. Carry a crossover bag under a sweater, jacket. Do not carry a big bulky purse. Always get a receipt and carry cash. Give your debit card a break. Hello, T. How are you doing? Exactly. The killer is listening. And the message that the police department is sending to the killer is that we don't know what the fuck we're doing. We're making up stuff, saying crazy stuff. We're not in agreement with the district attorney. We're not in agreement with anybody. And it's only a matter of time that, hey, we're going to half-ass get it right. Hold on a minute, you guys. Okay, I'm back. Checking something out. This place is like Rodale Drive over here. It's always something going on. Anyway, okay, hope you feel better, dear. It's just a sad situation. I'm an hour and 40 minutes in. I really wanted to discuss the situation. The 6th roommate, but I didn't get a chance. No one wanted to engage in this conversation pertaining to the 6th roommate, because I think it needs to be discussed, and I was hoping to have more people, engage in the conversation pertaining to this. Maybe I'll come back on and discuss it again, because I think people need to try to dissect this alongside the queen if they don't mind, but obviously not. Most of the people I talk to, they don't really care for any of these topics that I indulge in. They have no idea about the Idaho 4. They didn't have any idea about Quentin Simon or Summer Wells, Cal City either. And this is why I keep trying to tell you that there are a lot of people who do not watch YouTube. They don't fraternize with Facebook or TikTok. They're not aware of anything that's going on in America because they don't have any interest in these topics. And frankly, most of the people that are interested in these topics, they're not in it for the right reason, because they don't know how to comprehend information. They just want to make up stuff. That's not going to get to the truth, making up stuff about a story, about the people in the story. Because in the end, no matter your opinion, these are real people, and they're dead. They're not coming back. So there needs to be some respect to these people. And naturally, people don't like you talking about true crime when they know the people in the story, because they're afraid of what you're going to say, what you're going to find out about the victims. And that's the next thing I'm waiting on, is what is going to be revealed about all of the victims and the remaining survivors. Will we find out some not so nice things about these people? Because that's where your gossip comes in. There are people who just go out looking for bad things about dead people, their friends, their family, the neighbors. And that's when things get distorted and get blown up out of proportion. And then people just start beating a dead horse. So I'm wondering if these girls had any type of personal problems with each other in the house, or any outsiders that possibly led to their deaths. Because in the end, that would be shameful, that you would just murder a person because you had a disagreement with him or her. And we know many people have left here for petty disagreements. Is this a serial killer? Has the perpetrator killed before? Is this a first-time killer? Is somebody in their inner circle, somebody that's affiliated with the owner of the house, management team, maintenance worker, somebody that's done work for the house, UPS driver, Uber driver, rideshare driver, scorned lover, somebody that used to mess around with the girls, entanglement, sexual partner, somebody that liked one of the girls, somebody that one of the girls dated but was not interested in him anymore, or somebody on the outside that knew who one of the girls dated. Did that ever occur to any of you? Thank you, Lisa. Nobody wants to believe that that this is only done by a man. But what if you find out this has something to do with another female who knew who one of the girls dated? The girls dated a guy that the girl didn't like. One of the girls dated somebody, dating somebody, and another female was jealous. And maybe she went and got help. She didn't do the killings, but she orchestrated it. So you don't know. Oh, he likes her. He doesn't like me. What's wrong with me? Why they're dwelling on this incel BS? Who's to say a woman didn't orchestrate the killings of these women? Jealous because she wasn't chosen. Jealous because she wasn't in the clique. And what would be even more disturbing is that the killer has been living inside of the house the entire time. What if you find out that it is the roommates that killed Kaylee, Maddie, Xana, and Ethan? Because I do not want to point fingers, but I have to use deduction that something is off with this sixth roommate. And the odds that are 3 living and 3 dead is a strange number. And these girls could have found a gullible male to do the killings. It has happened before. It will happen again. And many people do hire other people to do their devious deeds for them. Maybe somebody got tired of the brat pack. Somebody was jealous of the brat pack. And they wanted to eliminate them out of the house. Stay woke. That's why I said you need to find out the order of the roommates coming into the house. Who rented the house first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth? Who all was leaving out? Because that may be the motivation of these murders. And as I said, this will be a shame if this is the real motive for the murders. Envy and jealousy by the girls who lived in this house. Is it possible they wanted to get rid of the girls that were there and move in their friends into the house? People that they liked better. Thank you for joining me. Have a happy weekend. This is Everyday Shenanigans. If you'd like to donate to this great network, $BigAngie129 Cash App. Thank you for the stickers and the chats. This was something to ponder on, because maybe you all are looking in the wrong place. Maybe there is no random killer, no targeted, nothing. Is this an inside job? See you guys later. Thank you for joining me.